Miracy.
I'm Michaelangelo Gerardi, and you're listening to Making It. I run a fitness coaching business called Next Gen CEOs, and I help online health and fitness professionals scale without social media ads using organic traffic. Growing up middle class family, we weren't poor. Food was always on the table, roof was always over the head. We always got toys and games. But my parents would bicker about money a lot. My dad worked 12-hour days. My mom quit her job to raise the kids and was a stay-at-home mom. And 2008 happened. My dad, as an entrepreneur, obviously work slowed down. So I think subconsciously looking back, that shaped the way that I think about money. I was always the penny pincher. I saved every penny because I never wanted that fear of where's my next dollar coming from? How am I going to put food on the table when I grow up and have my own family? I think listening to them argue about money during that tough time for everyone kind of shaped the way I think about money. Some good, some bad. I started lemonade stands to make money to eat with my friends at Taco Bell. And that turned into buying sneakers and Jordans and then selling those and trying to make a profit on those. And that turned into Gerardi Performance, my fitness business, and now business consulting. So I think I've always had an entrepreneurship mind. My hard work ethic definitely comes from my dad. The way I thought and think about money and why was driven a lot by money before the last couple years, I think was because of my childhood experiences. What prompted me to start my business was always wanting the freedom to do whatever I want, go wherever I want, and also take accountability for the outcomes that I have in life. So as an entrepreneur, it's a blessing and a curse. If you're making a lot of money, great, that's your fault. If you're not, that's also your fault. I think taking extreme ownership and accountability is something I wanted to do because the fate is in my hands, not in anybody else's. And I'm just a very bad employee, which I found out at my first job. So that pushed me into entrepreneurship. My experience as an employee, I had one job. I worked at a funeral home from sophomore year of high school to about COVID. My boss was a really stern, tough guy. Like things needed to happen on his time. You couldn't really conversate with him about anything or give any advice. And it just wasn't who I was. I didn't really love showing up to work every day. I didn't like being told when I had to work or when I'm going to get paid. That was all up to him. He was in control of my life more than I was. Not that money is everything, but when you're young, you need money. So if I wanted to go for a weekend trip or a concert with some friends, I couldn't do that because I had to work. So I realized that the employee life really was not for me. I wanted the flexibility to say, hey, I am willing to give up money and go to this concert or take this vacation and not have to ask permission from somebody else. And I think as I got more taste of that, it fueled my fire to grow the business. The definition of entrepreneur is somebody who takes risks. There is not one millionaire I've ever met that has played it safe throughout their whole business career and got to where they want to be. At one point or another, you will have to make uncomfortable decisions, whether it's firing this person or making your first hire, posting that content, investing in that mentor, going to that conference across the country, not knowing what it's going to be like to meet all these strangers. So I think getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, but also bulletproof at your mind that people who love you and support you are going to cheer for you. And those who don't, you don't want those people in your lives anyway. So that's my advice to entrepreneurs who are just starting out. I was actually just watching a video yesterday that 70% of Americans want to become their own boss and become an entrepreneur. Why is nobody an entrepreneur then? And why is such a small group an entrepreneur? It's just the fear of getting started or leaving what's comfortable in this cushiony 9 to 5 job. So I think why most people want to become entrepreneurs is that freedom. I hear it on calls every single day. Financial freedom, time freedom to provide for their family at a greater level than any job can. But only a small fraction of people are willing to get uncomfortable and make decisions that are scary for most people. Business ops aside, the mistakes people make on their way to the top or to their goal is trying to keep up with the Joneses. just because you can afford that new G-Wagon doesn't mean you should buy that G-Wagon. I think trying to keep up with Miami lifestyle, let's call it, is a big thing here in Florida. I could never see myself in Miami because I don't want to be that person, but to each their own. The best thing you can do is make money, have a high cash flowing business, and reinvest that money. Whatever your investment makes, that's your play money. So if you're making 50 grand a month off an passive investment, cool, go buy a car, do whatever you want. But just because you start getting a taste of money, I think a lot of new entrepreneurs start thinking, oh, I have all this money that I can just go blow this cash on, and don't think about the smart decisions and putting money to work for them. I don't want to say I haven't made any mistakes, but I don't look at any mistakes I can tell you as a negative. It's I've always learned something from it. I've always taken it as a positive. If I had to look back and dig up one, I think, again, in the beginning, when I was an immature entrepreneur, let's call it, it was just, how can I make the next sale? How can I get the next client? It wasn't until I remember this one night, I was like, I'm going to focus on getting my clients the best results and stop losing sleep over where my next client's coming from, and start losing sleep if my client isn't getting what they're promised in terms of results, whether it's weight loss, whether it's financially. Once I made that mindset shift of, okay, I'm going to lose sleep over my client's success versus my own success, my business skyrocketed. So I transformed into a client first entrepreneur. I think my biggest downfall is when I'm having a slower month, it's getting in my head and saying, oh no, is my business falling apart? When last month I had a record month, but now I have a slow month, you start to get in your own head a little bit. So I think it's understanding that business will ebb and flow. You just keep doing what you can do and control what you can control, and try your absolute hardest. And I think this is one of my big things is, don't let the money dictate your mood. It's easier said than done, but I try not to let how my business is going seep into my personal relationships. So when that happens, when I allow my money to dictate my mood, I wake up earlier in the morning, I journal, and I write down every single negative thought that pops into my head. I write down on paper and I brain dump. I sit in my red light, do breath work, I meditate, visualize my future. I try to get out of that negative thought pattern, because that's going to leak into how I show up on client calls. When they need me at my best and they pay me a lot of money to have my expertise and my energy, I can't allow how I'm feeling to derail what they're doing. I think if a teenager is watching this now, the advice I would give is, you are a product of your 5 closest friends. So if you have this dream life that you want and all your friends are partying, drinking, and smoking weed and doing things that aren't going to get you to the level you want to be in, you need to find a different friend group. Do you want to be the college person that just parties, or do you want to network, make connections, surround yourself with people who have big dreams and want to make an impact on the world? I think entrepreneurship provides a bigger impact more frequently for a lot of people. So pick your friends very closely and make sure they are there to uplift you and help you along your journey, not hold you back. Whether you're 35, whether you're 55, whether you're 75, who you surround yourself with is everything. I think complacency is a very dangerous adjective. Being comfortable is a dangerous place to be. But also, if you're too ambitious, you never get the enjoyment out of it, right? I think I saw an Instagram post that said something along the lines of, don't forget this is the reason why you're doing all of this. And it's the dog running in the park, the kid jumping into dad's arms, driving your son to a baseball game on a Friday night, right? So, have I made it? I'm pretty successful. Do I want more? Yes. I think I can be of more service to people and grow my business doing it. So I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm grateful, but I'm not complacent. I think a question that's not asked enough is, do you like the business you're building? Or are you happy with the business that you're building? I think in the process of scaling a business, you can see, ooh, new revenue goal hit, new milestone. But you're almost losing the enjoyment in it, which I caught myself doing a few months back. Is the business model that I am running, and these milestones financially that I'm trying to hit, is that taking a hit on the happiness of me enjoying what I do every single day? And I've talked to a lot of coaches in my space, some clients, some peers doing a lot of money. And it's a very common thing that I think is not talked about enough is building this business to an empire costing you happiness? If you were to ask me 4 years ago what my definition of making it was I want to be so rich. I want to have a Lamborghini. I want to have the yacht. I want to have the big mansion. That was my definition of making it. Having so much money, no one can tell me anything, and I can do whatever I want when I want. As I started making money, I understood that that stuff isn't going to make me happy. It's the actual freedom and stress free lifestyle, not having to check your bank account when you want to go fill up your gas tank, or not worrying about what the grocery bill is going to be when you load up your basket at the grocery store. Being able to take a vacation whenever you want and not feel like you have to go to work because you need this week's check to pay the mortgage. As I've grown as an entrepreneur and matured as a person as well, I understand that making it to me now is the freedom money brings. Because after a certain point, unless you're into luxury stuff, money is just money. And it no more makes really that big of a difference unless you go on a huge, large scale. But for 99% of people, I don't think the riches is what you're after. It's the freedom and the happiness that you can only find internally that most people will find once you have a little cushion with money. I bought a new car last week, and for a year prior to that, I was searching for a car I want to drive. So I did a test drive at Mercedes in a G Wagon, and I'm driving it. And everyone's always like, growing up, I'm like, oh, G Wagon, that's so cool. Look at that. And I'm driving it. I'm like, I don't really feel any different. Like, I really don't care that I'm in this car at all. I was so used to my old high school car. I want to just drive this thing until it's in the ground. So I think that was like a little like actual experience of putting myself into the materialistic thing that I've never had, but always thought I wanted. It was like, I don't feel any differently. And I can't even tell the car I'm driving because inside it looks the same. My perception when I was younger was that people would look at me differently driving that car and thought that I would be cool. But if you put yourself in that shoe, people don't care about you getting out of the car. When I was younger, I cared about what people thought about me. As I've matured, don't really care what people think. And also, I've come to understand that people care for who you are, not for the cars you drive or the house that you live in. So I think that was a really tangible aha moment, is when I test drove the G Wagon. I really did not feel anything. I'm 27. So 5 years from now, I see myself with a business that is profiting more than I need, but also gives me the freedom that I want, finding enjoyment in showing up to work every day, not looking forward to the weekend, but looking forward to Monday. I see myself with a couple little kids. I see myself with a white picket fence house, a few rental properties, and a lot of passive income. Ultimately, where I see myself in 5 years is happier than ever, more free than ever, and stress free. I'm Michaelangelo Gerardi, and you've been listening to Making It. You can find me at coach.gerardiperformance.com/NGC training. And my podcast listening only playbook, which is my viral reels framework, and my Facebook group Lead Gen Mastery. So you can drive leads organically and not have to pay for ads and keep your margins high. You'll find all the links in the show notes.